Good morning and welcome everyone to our part two of the Congregational Fire Communion series. I have a dog who is being a little bit grumpy at me this morning, so I'm sorry if you hear him barking. Last Sunday, we explored the concept of intention setting and the intentional letting go as it is connected to our congregational community. Everyone had the opportunity to dive into these discussion questions. What are some of the most important intentions you want this community to work towards over the next year? And what pieces and practices of community life are you ready to let go of in order to make way for the new intentions? Hopefully you remember to hold on to those slips of paper because we will be using them at the end of today's service. Now, over the last several months, Kelowna Unitarians have been having services where discussion has been focusing on the history of the land that we live on, the history of colonization of Canada, and the history of the first peoples of this land. And as we were organizing our ideas for the services this month, the worship committee and I believed that combining thoughts of fire communion with our relationship to colonization was a really good idea. And so we invite you into this second piece of our fire communion. This morning, the worship committee and I would like you to explore the following questions in your breakout rooms. What ideas about the history of Canada and the Indigenous peoples of this land are you ready to let go of? What ideas about the history of Canada, perhaps it's the history that you learned in schools or the history that you thought made Canada such a great place, or what ideas about the history of the Indigenous peoples of this land are you ready to let go of at this time? And where do we go next as a congregation on a journey of truth, healing, and reconciliation? What ideas about the history of Canada and the Indigenous peoples of this land are you ready to let go of? And where do we go next as a congregation on the journey of truth, healing, and reconciliation? It is now time for our fire communion. If you've been playing along at home with the unspoken rules that I believe you should have been doing, you should each have 4 slips of paper. There will be 2 from your discussion last week about the intentions for new possibilities and the desires of letting go different aspects of our community life. This week, there shall also be 2 slips of paper. Our community's aspirations for reconciliation and the pieces of colonialism or colonization that you are prepared to let go of and prepared to and make an effort in letting go of. Hopefully at some point you also had the opportunity to get a candle and a bowl or some sort of vessel, because we will be lighting a few of our slips of paper and releasing them. Fire represents the creativity and passion that all intellectual and emotional beings have. Fire is an active force that has the power to create and animate things. Fire is known as a purifier through flames of destruction. It is capable of renewing through the warmth and the comfort of those very same flames. So I and the worship committee recommend to you that you burn the pieces of paper that hold things that you are ready to let go of, and allow the ashes to gather in your bowl. Perhaps you can use those ashes at some time to fertilize our new intentions. And I will just mention, because I said this during our rehearsal earlier, that 2 years ago, Casey, can you spotlight the chalice cam? 2 years ago, when we had an in-person fire communion, I kept ashes from that celebration in hopes that, am I? Oh, it is spotlit. So I kept the ashes from that fire communion 2 years ago in hopes that we could maybe plant seeds with them or something of the fact. But then, of course, the pandemic started weeks after, and we haven't been together again. But I do think that it's important to remember how the pieces of our past can help fertilize and create intention for the future. And so I recommend that you burn the pieces of paper that you are hoping to let go of and keep the pieces of paper that have new intentions written on them. Because Kelowna Unitarians will be having another congregational conversation likely near the end of February. And we encourage you to keep those intentions and remind yourselves and others of the dreams and hopes that you have for this community when we gather with leaders and regional staff to help focus on our future. So now Phyllis is going to play a piece of meditative music, and I encourage you to very carefully light some pieces of fire on, or pieces of paper on fire, and let go of the things that need to be let go of in your world.